people here, if you just raise your hand, would like to see the state restore those. Now, it costs about a minimum of $300 million to do that, and there's only about 3 ways we can accomplish that. One way would be to take $300 million out of K-12. It would represent a 10% cut in the state's funding. That would also cost 7,000 teachers' jobs, over 100 in Missouri, in Columbia. So how many would hold up your hand if you would want to use that option?
I don't think.
And the second option is to take $300 million out of K-12, out of higher education, which represents 30% of their budget. That would cost the University of Missouri $75 million and devastate our premier flagship university. Anybody in charge of favor of that one?
I disagree with your.
And the third one is to simply raise taxes by $300 million. But nobody running for the 24th House seat, or no one running for the state Senate, is supporting that. Chris is not supporting a tax increase. I'm certainly not supporting a tax increase. So I'm always curious as to how you're going to fund a $300 to $600 million program if no one's willing to make the cuts in the major programs that the state has available to them for that source of revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Robb. Chris Kelly is the Democrat candidate for the 24th District. Mr. Kelly, you may present your 3-minute opening statement.
I am happy to be here, and as many of you know, this is not my first League of Women Voters Forum. At my first League of Women Voters Forum, Liz Schmidt was in high school. That brings up an absolutely critical point, and there's an answer to it. In my day, we actually looked at the budget and cut things out of it that we didn't like. The first year that I was chairman of the Budget Committee, I actually shrunk the size of the budget by about 200 employees. We funded 500 less employees than John Ashcroft asked for. That's one way, is to absolutely do your work when you're on budget, which I had a long history, 10-year history of doing. Another way is to not give the money to economic development big shots who are lobbied for by the governor's brother. That would be another way to do it. The legislature gave $95 million to one developer in St. Louis, one guy. If you choose between funding that guy's economic development project and cutting the Medicaid, the health care cuts, I choose the to not fund the one guy with the economic development grant. People will make the argument that economic development is important for our future budget growth. And I voted on that basis for many, many economic development deals over the years. I contend that when a kid is sick and they don't have any health care and the woman doesn't go to work, that's a serious economic development problem. So the little employer who hires her has got to have her at work. And if her kid can't get health care, she's not at work. It's a serious problem. It is as serious to our economic development as giving money to guys who we don't even know what they're doing with it. In St. Louis, I believe that, and there's another response to this problem. All of the kids who came off are not necessarily ineligible. The government in the state of Missouri today has not made any serious effort to find out which ones are still eligible and which ones are not. I believe that a significant number of the, even though the parents may not be eligible, some of the kids may be eligible. See, that's the kind of thing you know if you actually get into making the budget work and finding out how the government actually does work. In some cases, a parent might not be eligible, but if a worker goes out and identifies those kids and is affirmative about their responsibility, they will. I believe we can get a number of those kids back on the program without any change in the guidelines at all. The other thing about the guidelines that was particularly heinous was when they did things like allowed wheelchairs, but not allowed wheelchair batteries, allowed oxygen, but not allowed the regulators that distribute the oxygen. That was incredibly inappropriate. We'll get more into this later, I'm sure.
Thank you.